Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. Wonderful show today. I've got my good friend Matt Theriault with Epic Real Estate. One of the things we've learned in this real estate game is sometimes when you're working for the cash flow, trying to get these big apartment deals to come in, and while you're operating, you may be a little cash poor. And I wanted to bring Matt Theriault on because he has an education platform, and his story is absolutely amazing, and how he teaches people how to make money in real estate, and it's really fairly simple. So, Matt, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, Corey. Good to be here.
So, give everybody a little bit about yourself and your history and who you are, and just let them know what's going on, man.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I spent the next, 15 years or so of my life in the music business. And then this thing called the digital download came along, and it was something brand new. No one even ever heard of it. No one knew what it was. And it turned that whole industry upside down, and it completely changed the way people consume music. As you can tell, there's probably people alive today that don't even know that music stores existed. Like, we used to walk into a store and buy some music.
Yeah.
Right? And so that whole
tapes and I want to say a little bit of LPs when I was a little kid.
Totally. I mean, who even knows what an 8-track cassette is? You know what I mean? It's like, I do, but anyway, that whole industry changed, and it kicked a lot of people out that were in my role who made their money selling compact discs. And so I had to go find something new to do, because that's all I had done to that point in my life. I was 34 years old, and I had no other skills. And so I ended up bagging groceries. At 34 years old, I was bagging groceries. This went from a 7-figure year to $7 an hour. The wife wasn't too happy with the grocery bagging job, so she got up and left. And she left me with a bunch of debt. So then quickly the bankruptcy followed, and wow, what a whirlwind. And it happened really quickly too, in about 6 months from the time I noticed something was wrong to where it was completely at the low point. And it was bagging groceries where the grocery store manager, who coincidentally was the exact same age as me, I'm bagging, he's managing, and we kind of got along because we were the same age. And he'd said one thing to me. He said, Matt, if you really want your money back, you should really consider real estate, because it's the final frontier where the average person has a legitimate shot at creating real wealth. And I was like, okay. And then he showed me what he'd been able to do while he'd been working there, because he'd been bagging groceries there and pushing carts since he was like 16 years old. So he was only like 2 or 3 years away from his actual retirement. And so this whole way he'd been able to amass apartment buildings, coincidentally, that I'm talking to you. And he said, look, I'm going to be out of here. I'm going to get 80% of my salary, because I'm going to retire early from the grocery store. And the income from my apartment buildings exceeds my the money that I make here is my salary. I'm going to be living a better life at the age of 36, not working, than I was with 2 incomes at 35 or whatever it was. And I was like, wow, I knew I had to learn something new.
It's like, say what? Say that again, man.
Yeah. I was like, can I start over? And so that was like, okay, well, I had no idea what I was going to do. But I really wanted my money back. And if that's the final frontier where this average person has a shot, I was feeling far below average. So who am I to think that I could do anything else? So I just, out of sheer desperation, I became a real estate agent, thinking that's where I should have started. And it took me only 4 years to figure out that, you know what, I'm probably sitting on the wrong side of the desk if I really want to make all the money.
Yeah.
So I made this transition from real estate agent to real estate investor. Got this cool little purple book. You've probably never heard of it, called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And it taught me the concept of passive income, which was completely foreign to me. That I always subscribed to the idea that, being rich and famous and successful is just having a lot of money in the bank.
Yep.
It's certainly good and it helps, but if there's nothing to keep replenishing that money as you keep spending it, then that can create issues. And so this whole idea of financial independence and this financial freedom thing, to where that money is replenished each month, regardless of whether you go to work or not, the traditional work.
Yeah.
And
that's a real secret. Like, that's like, whoa, that's magic, right? But like, when it's done right, gosh dang.
Totally. I mean, and here I am. I was 34 years old, 35 at that time, having made $1 million, and this was a totally foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
Right? No one had ever taught me about it. I just came out of high school and I started making money. I was like, well, okay, this is what we do. And so that just shifted everything. So I've made this goal to, I'm going to get out of the rat race. And I liked his definition. Just push your expenses down as low as you can, get your passive income up as high as you can. And you might not be rich, but you will be free.
And freedom is priceless.
Yep. And that was so appealing to me. So I did that. And I wasn't rich. But you know what? I got to play golf on Wednesdays and Tuesdays whenever I felt like it. And I started to notice, or my network, or my circle, my friends and family started to notice that, wow, this guy was just bagging groceries not too long ago, and now he's playing golf on a Wednesday. Matt, let's go to lunch and let me pick your brain a little bit. I had a lot of those pick your brain conversations. And so I recognized that I didn't feel like it at the time, but I really recognized that what I had done was unique and kind of special. And so a lot of people wanted to know how to do that. They wanted to do it themselves. So just teaching turned out to be like the next logical step for me.
Yeah, teach what you know, right?
Yep.
Man, I've been all my life, right? So even when I didn't know anything, I still taught it, right? Like, but I think when you teach, you become a better student too, because you're looking, when you learn something like, wow, that's really good, I bet you, and then when you teach it, you actually become even better because you've become a master at it.
100%.
Because you say it 10,000 times.
Yeah. And not only that, I think with real estate, I mean, there's a lesson intertwined in every single transaction that you do. And you experience or learn something that you weren't prepared for, right? You had never heard of it before. And all of a sudden you got this new education from this transaction. And by working with my clients for so long, and so many of them now, I've been able to experience so much in real estate that I don't know if I could have done enough deals to experience everything that I have.
Yeah.
And yeah, so definitely better student, but better investor, right? I haven't lost any money in the last 4 or 5 years because of all that stuff. Those previous 4 or 5 years, I took a lot of dumb risks and made some mistakes, but it's made me a much better investor.
You know, it's funny that, so, you know, as you become a better investor, you know, because I look at too, when I first started I did my first deal, got lucky, I did a really good deal, but my second deal, I absolutely crashed on. Mm-hmm. Right, and barely gave in fact, it cost me $150,000 to get my investors back their money, but if it wasn't for that little bump in the road, I wouldn't have been as good as I am now, because I had to learn that lesson. And luckily, it wasn't as harsh as a lesson as some other people have had. But sometimes in the down period, when you actually get out away from that, you're like, wow, I'll never do that again. Right, I'm way better now than I ever have been.
Failure is a much better teacher than success is.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. So and now you teach. I mean, you teach millions of people.
Pardon me?
You teach millions of people.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
Yeah. You're kind of a big deal, Matt.
Oh, well, thanks, Corey. I sit over here in my little 4 cinder block walls in Glendale and just kind of do what I do, and every time I come out for air, I recognize, people are actually listening, so that's a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it is, man. So when you can impact people like that, that's a game changer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've impacted lots of people. I mean, I know this.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. That
always
helps. Here we are a decade into it. I was just talking to somebody and they just started a podcast. They asked me how long I'd been doing mine, and I said, I think we're just about to hit our 10-year anniversary. And he's like, wow, were podcasts even invented 10 years ago? And I was like, I think Jason Hartman was the first real estate podcast that I know of. I think Sean Terry was right after that. And then I think it was me. And
wow.
Yeah, so we've been doing this for quite a while. And now
10
today,
years,
right? I can't believe I'm actually old enough to talk in decades. And today our business, we have kind of 3 heads of our business. One is how to do it yourself. So we have the education where we show you how to do it. Second, we have our turnkey operation that Mercedes, my wife, runs. And that's more of like a do it with you service. Like our clients are still the boss. They still call the shots. They do the transactions, everything, but they're able to leverage our team and systems to put it all together and come to fruition. And then we have our fund where we do it for you for accredited investors.
Yep.
So that's where we are today. And we're just kind of,
how do you like the fund business? So that'll be actually kind of fun. Just like, how do you find investors for your fund?
The podcast. I do 0 marketing for it. And I probably get 2 or 3 inquiries a day. Right.
So let that be a lesson for anybody listening right now. even, I mean, I know there's lots of podcasts out there, but if you're serious about raising money, maybe you should start one. Because I get investors as well. I mean, all the time.
Yeah.
And because the right people will relate to you. I mean, when you start building a tribe, it just gets bigger and bigger. But teaching what you know, I started off doing a RIA. I realized I could reach more people doing a podcast. Same information, same amount of time, but way bigger audience.
It's funny that you say that, because there's a saying that says those that educate the market dominate the market. And I heard that a long time ago, before there were so many different channels to share that education. And Mercedes and I, when we started working together, that's how we operated. So what we would do is we'd go to meetup.com and we'd host an event on how to negotiate your short sale without losing your shorts or something like that.
Yep.
And so we'd hold a little meeting. We'd promote all week long for that little event. And we might get 4 or 5 people to go there. We bought enough sandwiches for 20, but we had 4 or 5 people. We'd talk to those 4 or 5 people. We'd show them how to do it. And invariably, 1 or 2 of them would become a client, give us their property, and say, will you just do it for me?
Yeah.
And, that was a lot of work to get those 4 or 5 butts in the room to go ahead and educate them on how this works. And when we first launched the podcast, we launched it and we woke up the next morning and we saw 100 downloads. And we were like, when you compare that to how hard we had to work just to get to 4 or 5 sets of ears, and we had 100 sets of ears overnight, and we were like, okay, so we really got something. So I don't think we've ever spent a dime on marketing for an investor or one of our turnkey customers.
Yeah.
Just 100% spreading goodwill and doing good on the podcast. And you're right. You get to be 100% yourself, and then the right people come to you to work with you.
Yeah, it's an amazing concept when you think about it. Because like I ran I called it a meetup or a RIA, or I wouldn't call it really a RIA, but I just teaching what I know. But I'd always say money shows up in the room all the time, and they all want to do it. It feels like everybody wants to do real estate full time, but the reality is, what happens is they start having reality hit them. They're like, dude, I got a full time job, I got this, and I don't even want to go away from that. That's my safety comfort. And at the end of the day, they're just like, but I still want to be in real estate, and I trust you, and I've learned all your stuff. Just, can you do it for me? And you're like, and you're smart enough that you've created an avenue to say, yeah, we got a done for you process, right? We can hold your hand, or if you want to be really passive, just give us your money, and we'll do what you do and give you a return. That's it, and everybody's happy.
Right.
Isn't that powerful though?
Say again?
Isn't that powerful?
Oh, totally. But if you think about it, it's not unique to real estate. We do that in every other aspects of our life that we're not experts in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a new book coming out, and I just dictated it, and someone else wrote it. I said, can you just do it for me? I've got when you go to a dinner, can you just park my car for me?
What's your book called?
It's called Flow.
Nice.
We're still a ways away from it being released. We're about 95% done.
Okay, I got a book coming out. Copy Your Way to Success.
Copy Your Way to Success?
Yeah.
I like it.
So
right.
we're still about a month and a half out. We're on final edits.
Copy Your Way, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of cool, yeah.
There could be a great subheader there somewhere.
We do, but we're playing with 2 or 3, so that's why I didn't say the subheader yet.
Okay, something came to my mind right away. I was like, oh, let me help with this. I got it.
Say it, man, say it.
Yeah, well, what you got in trouble for in school will pay you after, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That really is. I tell my beginning story is, I'm going into a 4th grade class, and out comes spell the word drawer, put your clothes in the drawer. And I didn't know how to spell it, man. But Susie, Jennifer Stubbs, the girl in front of me, was, really smart and really pretty. And she knew everything. So I'm like looking over, and dude, as soon as I get the E in drawer spelt, man, the, cold shoulder of my teacher comes on my shoulder. I'm getting yanked out of the deal down to the principal's office. God, and then I actually go back to say, later on in life, in my professional life, Tony Robbins calls it modeling success.
Yes.
Not copy's a strong word, but model. I'm like, man, what I wouldn't give to go back into 4th grade to Mr. Burkhead, the principal, and say, hey, listen, I wasn't copying Jennifer Stubbs' test. I was just modeling her success, man.
Yes. Isn't that funny how because I got caught once my darn self, and I was a really good kid, and I think that's the only time, or maybe one of two times, where my mom got really, really pissed off. I got really disappointed her on that one. But I was
But
like, yeah. Well, Mom, this is how I support you today. What I got in trouble for back then.
Yeah. You got to think about it. Like, what are we doing here in real estate? It's nothing new.
Right.
It changes ever so slightly, but it's really nothing new. And whenever those changes occur, someone figures out a way, and then you learn from that. Then you teach what you learned.
Yep.
It's really about unpacking some, right now, marketing for deals, how to get deals. That seems to be the biggest thing that I see a lot of people are struggling with. Is it's not like it was in 2009 and 10 when you could throw a dart and hit a deal. Now you got to be actually pretty savvy.
Yep, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So on Epic Real Estate, you teach all these kinds of things?
We teach it all.
Yeah.
Everything. We're one-stop shop. No. We really focus on, we show people how to wholesale and flip. But when you've been in the business long enough, you've really got the experience, you start recognizing how much work and labor intensive wholesaling and fix and flipping is.
It is.
You have some good windfalls, you get some good sizable checks, but tomorrow you're on to the next deal and you got to dig. And once you start recognizing the power of cash flow and the power of that passive income is, it's not as exciting in the beginning.
Yes, brother. You're talking my language now.
Right?
This is
3 years of wholesaling versus 3 years of buy and hold. You're going to be so much happier on the buy and hold side after 3 years than you will on the wholesaling side.
Oh God, I want you to climb on a mountain and say this now, because this is my story, and I see this now. I've been going to lots of masterminds. Still, I'm still part of Collective Genius that we used to be a part of, and I watch these guys, and all they do buy and sell. They're traders,
right?
Like trader. With a D, but I think they feel like it's with an AI, trader, because cash flow was always the key. Rich Dad Poor Dad was the book.
Yeah,
we all read it,
yep.
And I fell in love with cash flow. But like most people, I turned on the TV and I saw fix and flip, or flip this house, or wholesale, make a quick profit, and a lot of us have been duped into thinking that that's investing.
Yep.
Right.
100%. Yeah. When you start,
because there's no freedom there.
Exactly. I'm glad you just said it. If your goal is freedom, that's the big contingency, or that's the big caveat. If you want the financial freedom, then the flipping the houses, you'll never be free. You'll never be free. You might make a lot of money, but you're always chasing the next one, and you'll never be free from that pursuit. And plus it takes a lot longer too, and it's a lot more work to do it that way. Because I've done this so many times. When you say shouting from the mountaintops, I've been saying this for a long time, and it's probably why my show is not nearly as popular as a Tom Kroll show, or a Sean Terry show, or a Cody Sperber, because those guys are out there and they're gunslingers in the Wild Wild West. They're flipping properties, they're making all this money, and my show's boring compared to theirs. But it's a lot faster way if your approach is if your end game is freedom. Yes,
cash flow is way more sexy. It just takes a little time to develop, but once you get it, man, and then your net worth goes up. Values of home goes up. You're still into it for 10 years down the road. You feel pretty good, man. And I can only describe for me the freedom of, I don't even have to worry about what I'm doing next month, next week, next year. I'm still going to get paid on my rentals.
Right.
My apartments are still going to make income. People pay rent each and every month.
100%.
And then I like my favorite quote is, our tenants expect the rents to go up every year, and we never disappoint them. So,
customer satisfaction is what you're all about, Corey.
Yeah. That $15 increase is going to happen. And,
right.
Because I got to keep up with cost of living.
Of course.
But, so sitting back here now, seasoned, because, everybody that's listening right now, so Matt is a seasoned investor. What you're hearing from in his words, or from I started off here, but I realized quickly that wasn't the real game. The fix and flip, quick selling for profits, it was a way of maybe in the beginning, but he quickly transitioned into something much more profitable, which was cash flow.
Yep.
Right?
Here's the best way that I've been able to explain it, and I still get thumbs down on the YouTube videos when I explain it this way. And I was like, you guys are just insane. But anyway, fine, do it your way. If you're happy with what you're doing, don't listen to me. I'm good with that. As long as you're happy, that's all I care about. But, and Mercedes and I still kind of experience it today, and we still debate it sometimes. But, you have a property sitting in front of you, and you can flip it for 30 grand, or you can hold on to it for $300 a month. And just the human nature, if you're looking at a pile of cash or $300 a month, most people, they will go for that $30,000 of cash. They feel like they're more successful. They feel like they're prospering. They feel like they're doing good. But how many of those properties do you have to flip to put in a very conservative account to generate $300 a month? The freedom that you're pursuing. So essentially, if you're at 4 or 5%, you probably have to
3 or 4 of them.
I think it's 6 to 1 is like the number.
Yeah.
So it's 6 to 1. So you got to find 6 more deals to create the same amount of freedom as you would by just holding the one. And that's if you didn't spend a dime from the properties you flipped.
Yes.
So let's say you put half in the bank and then you put half to pay your expenses. Well, now you got to do 12 to 1. So all of a sudden, you are so far behind by doing it that way. And, it's pretty compelling once you put that on a spreadsheet and you're like, wow, if I could both of them are hard work. Let's not get that twisted. They're both hard work. But how long do you want to do the hard work for?
You do this for, the tale of 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. Do one for 5 years and see where you're at. You're still at 0. Mm-hmm. Because you wake up the next day on the 6th year broke and like, if I don't make it rain today, I'm not going to get to eat. Got to go keep hunting and gathering. Versus someone that's become a farmer and planted a good crop.
Yep.
And it just shows up, right?
Yep.
And but it's not sexy, right? The problem with what we're teaching is it's not sexy to a lot of people.
There's no TV show called Hold That House. I tried. I pitched it to every network, and I got turned down every single one. I was like, it's going to be great. There'll be no cost, be no production. You just put a camera in front of the house and just let it sit there for 30 minutes a week. They didn't like that.
Hold that house, man. We did another one. We got 50 cameras going, and they're still there.
It's still there. Exactly. Let's do a quick edit. Let's do a quick camera-to-camera edit. Right? Let's get this exciting.
So, listen. So the cash flow game. What has it done for you personally? Like, what's your lifestyle now versus when you were bagging groceries?
Well, I did this. Let's see. It was 34. So at the age of 41, I retired for 30 days. Right? So,
right.
There's only so many movies you could watch and so many trips to the driving range you could make a week. And I needed something to do. So now that I got this mystery in this, what I thought was what I wanted, this retirement, I realized, no, that's not what I want. So that's when I came back to work.
Yeah.
So I certainly increased my expenses then. I've got overhead. I've got a business. I've got employees. And my passive income does not cover my overhead now.
Right.
But it is high enough to the point where if it all went to hell, I could just shut it all down and I'd be just fine.
And just be fine, right?
Right. So I guess if you've asked me what it's done for my life, it's given me that kind of comfort that I can make better decisions because they're not all fear-based or money-dependent, right?
Amen to that, brother.
I think clearer, and I move forward and thinking what I think are smart moves. I still make some mistakes, but they're not fear-based mistakes.
True, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. Is like saying, putting. I always say, like, when I talk to fixed flippers and wholesalers, I'm like, guys, all your real nice ones, just hold them, right? Even if you only did one a year, one a month, like you flipped 7, but you held 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stockpiled that for 5 years. You would come out of that thing looking pretty good. You could probably sell half of them and pay the other half free and clear, right? That's going to be a spot that'll happen one day. When you'll probably be like, in my mind, that's the single family game. Mm-hmm. Is if I'm doing single families, you hold them for enough period of time to where the value really increases, where you can sell them and pay your other half off, and that's when you've hit nirvana. Because then it doesn't do $300 per door; it does thousand,
Yeah.
six, yeah,
Right?
you know, yeah,
Essentially doubles. Yep.
and that's like, and then you're truly just like whatever you want to do. Then you have, again, like you just said, time freedom to do what you really enjoy, your passion. And even like me, I don't think I'll ever stop working. I mean, I love what I do. You love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to work this hard. And it's not that we even work hard, just work smart and work the time that you want.
Yep.
That's the kind of life that most people, I think, when they first read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's what they were looking for. But just they got blinders, and I think there's people like me and you that we got to go out there and teach the world that, like, no, it goes back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Buy some, hold some, right?
Yep. You know, there's and I didn't realize this before in my previous life in the music business, but now that I've gone through it once, I've certainly brought that lesson over here to the real estate business, and that is learning from other people's mistakes, because you still, like, for the most part, you're gonna have to make that mistake yourself to really, really learn it. But one thing I've really focused on, and I'm not perfect at it, but to really focus on when someone smarter than me or further along than me tells me about don't do this or don't do that or do it this way, I really listen, right? I'm really like, okay, all right, right? And so I can see myself talking to my audience, whether it's virtually through a podcast speaker or through YouTube or at our live events. I can just feel it based on the response and the feedback and even just the energy that they're like, yeah, Matt, that's good. That sounds great. You're the best, but I'm going to go do it my way anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And that's like, you're like, oh, you feel so bad. You're like, no.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know the pain's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I would say that's when I say copy my way to success. I've also, copy what they've done right or what they did, and then honestly copy what they didn't do.
And don't do that.
Because sometimes what they didn't do is really what you shouldn't do.
Right.
Don't
sometimes
go try to go
enough.
rogue. Yeah.
Sometimes that's enough to create the success is just don't do that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Do everything else, but don't do these things, and you can probably come out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a life lesson right there. My gosh.
100%.
Don't make dumb mistakes. Follow smart people and watch them. Watch them long enough and see what they're doing and what they don't do, and that would tell you everything.
You know what? I think about that all the time. Like, if they would have told me that in high school, my senior year, like, find a mentor, find networking groups or mastermind groups where people are greater and smarter and bigger and better and faster than you are, and to the point where, like, hire a coach if you have to. But get with somebody and align yourself with somebody that's been down the road that you want to go down. And boy, what a success accelerator that is.
True in my life, right? That's exactly what I did.
I mean, I think I spent 150 grand on coaches and masterminds last year.
I'm a professional connoisseur of education.
Yeah. Do you regret any of it?
Not even the slightest.
Not even the slightest. And some of those are pretty hefty price tags. I mean, it wasn't cheap to get into Collective Genius.
No.
And, and if you want to go deeper and further, I mean, there's stuff that you don't see advertised online. There's no marketing funnel to get into some of this stuff, and it's far more expensive and far more, like, some of those are really high hurdles to crawl over,
Right. But we do, because you know why? It's worth it at the end of the day, right? Because the power of your network, the power of people that are, to reach, like, again, when you go into those types of circles, you become the student again.
Yeah, peer pressure. It works both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and you just level up your learning, your knowledge, so you can take the next steps to get to that next little plateau that's been eluding you.
Yep.
And
you start thinking differently. You start having different conversations, and then you actually can create action plans. And now you have access to different resources and contacts to actually make those action plans come together. And it's just like, you keep moving up, and it keeps what do they call it? A self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I feel like if I could go back to my 18-year-old self, I would say, listen, keep in contact with the people that you meet and that you come across with, like, religiously.
Yep. Because
you just never know when someone rises up and that could have helped you to a path. But I mean, honestly, what we just talked about of following people up the ladder and really and then always putting a hand back down to your tribe, right? To the people that you influence, because as you keep growing, sometimes we forget where we're at. Like, sometimes I forget, like, wow, I'm pretty high up the ladder. I never looked down. I've just kept on trying to figure out whose hand I needed to grab.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look down, you're like, wow, we can really help and influence some people.
Amen.
You know?
Amen.
And that's what you do, brother. So listen, for people out there wanting to get a hold of Matt Theriault and Epic Real Estate, how do they find you, brother?
This was a great conversation, Corey, and you're a really good guy. And I was coming on the podcast, and I was just expecting all these questions, and the one question I always get asked that you didn't ask, so let's just pretend you asked it, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna feed it to you.
Yes.
Hey, nobody listen real quick, because it's gonna be fresh when it comes out of Corey. It's gonna be his idea. Matt, if you were to lose everything and had to start all over again, how would you do it?
Matt, if you were to lose everything and start, how would you do it, brother?
Oh, fantastic question, Corey. So I've been asked that question so many times that I guess there's a demand for that type of information. And so what I did, Corey, is I put together this little project of where I documented everything that I did, because when I did get started, I did start from nothing. I was back in groceries, and what do they say? The mother of invention is desperation, or desperation is the mother of invention. So one way or the other. But I was desperate, and I got pretty creative. I got pretty resourceful, and I created a bunch of different ways to go and do this business with little to no money. And I put it together in a free course. So if people want to get into my world, and that's where they're starting from, you go to freerealestateinvestingcourse.com. Came up with that domain name all by myself. Realestateinvestingcourse.com. Or just go to the podcast, Epic Real Estate Investing. We've been there for 10 years, so we pretty much find us wherever podcasts are aired.
Brother, that is pure magic and pure gold. Listen, wonderful conversation today. Wonderful stories. You're a true master at what you do. You're helping thousands, millions of people around the country, or definitely around the U.S. And dude, it's just an honor to have you on my podcast.
Oh, Corey, thank you for saying that. It's always an honor to talk to you. It's always a pleasure.
Cool. Well, listen, guys. Hey, in real estate, there's lots of ways to make money, but the first thing you've got to do is you got to believe it in your mind. What you tell yourself each and every day means something, and when you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible. All right, brother. Rock and roll, man. That was good. Short and sweet, and good stories, dude. That's a good story. I've never heard your story like that. Well, I didn't know that. Yeah. 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 That's so funny, because I just had a conversation about that. We're like, what do all you gotta do is have one good story, man. I started here, I did this, I did that, and that's all you say every time. Did I love? Did I live? Did I matter? Yep, did I matter? That's the 3 questions you have when you're gonna die. Oh shoot! Listen, man. Anything I do to help you, let me know. We'll send you a link when we're getting ready to publish this. It'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks. All right, thanks, brother. Bye-bye.
You have another one at 3.